Most people believe fat loss is incredibly complicated. You need the perfect diet, the perfect workout, the perfect supplement stack. Some people track every calorie. Some people avoid carbs. Others cut fat. Some fast for 16 hours. Some try keto. Others try vegan diets. Yet, millions of people try all of these things and still struggle to lose weight. Meanwhile, you probably know someone who seems to lose weight effortlessly. They eat pizza. They skip the gym sometimes. They don't obsess about food, but somehow, their body stays lean. Why does this happen? Why can one person lose weight easily, while another person spends years dieting with almost no results? To answer that question, we need to understand something most diets completely ignore. Fat loss is not about willpower. It's about biology. Once you understand how your body actually stores and burns energy, something surprising happens. Many popular diet myths suddenly stop making sense, and the real rules of fat loss become much simpler than people think. Let's start with the most fundamental concept behind fat loss. Energy balance. Your body is constantly using energy. Right now, even while you're sitting and watching this video, your body is burning calories. Your heart is pumping blood. Your lungs are pulling oxygen from the air. Your brain is firing billions of electrical signals. Cells across your body are repairing themselves. All of that requires energy. That energy comes from food. Food is essentially fuel. Proteins, carbohydrates, fats, all of them contain energy your body can use. When you eat food, your body breaks it down and converts it into energy. Some of that energy is used immediately. But if there is extra energy that your body doesn't need at that moment, it stores it, and the main storage system your body uses is body fat. Fat is simply stored energy. It's your body's backup battery. When you eat more energy than your body needs, the excess is stored. When you eat less energy than your body needs, the body begins to use stored energy, including body fat. This is the core mechanism behind fat loss. If your body needs more energy than it receives from food, it must pull energy from storage. And one of the biggest energy storage systems in your body is fat tissue. So the body begins to break down fat cells and release that stored energy. This process is called fat oxidation. In simple terms, the body is burning fat to fuel itself. This is why energy balance matters. If more energy comes in than goes out, fat storage increases. If more energy goes out than comes in, fat storage decreases. It's not magic. It's physics and biology. But if fat loss were only about energy balance, dieting would be easy. And clearly, for many people, it isn't, because there's another layer to the story. Hormones. Hormones are chemical messengers that control many processes inside the body. And one of the most important hormones involved in fat storage is insulin. Insulin is released when you eat food, especially carbohydrates. Its job is to help move nutrients from the bloodstream into cells. This includes glucose, which is a form of sugar used for energy. When insulin levels rise, the body is in a storage-friendly state. Energy is being moved into cells. Some goes into muscle, some goes into the liver. And if there is extra energy, some of it is stored as fat. This is why insulin often gets blamed for weight gain, but the reality is more nuanced. Insulin does not magically create fat out of nothing. Fat storage still depends on total energy intake. However, insulin does influence how the body partitions energy. It affects hunger, it affects cravings, and it affects how easy or difficult it feels to stay in an energy deficit. For example, highly processed foods that combine refined carbohydrates and fats can create powerful reward signals in the brain. These foods are extremely easy to overeat, not because you lack discipline, but because your brain is wired to seek high-energy foods. In nature, calorie-dense food was rare, so when the brain detects sugar and fat together, it releases dopamine. This creates pleasure, and pleasure reinforces behavior. The brain starts learning, eat this again. Over time, this can create strong eating habits that operate almost automatically. You're not just eating because you're hungry. You're eating because your brain expects the reward. This is one of the reasons modern diets often fail. The environment we live in is filled with hyper-palatable foods designed to keep you eating. But hormones and food environment are still only part of the picture. There's another powerful factor that many people never hear about: metabolic adaptation. Your metabolism is the total amount of energy your body burns each day. Many people imagine metabolism as a fixed number, something you're born with. But metabolism is actually dynamic. It changes depending on many factors: your body weight, your muscle mass, your activity levels, and importantly, how much you eat. When people begin dieting and eating less food, they usually lose weight at first. But after a while, progress slows down. Sometimes it stops completely. This is not because fat loss has become impossible. It's because your body is adapting. When the body senses a sustained drop in energy intake, it interprets it as a potential threat. Food might be scarce, so the body begins conserving energy. Metabolism slows slightly. You may move less without realizing it. Your hunger hormones increase, and the brain becomes more sensitive to food cues. This combination creates what feels like a powerful resistance to dieting. The body is trying to protect itself. This is why many diets follow a predictable pattern. Rapid weight loss in the beginning, then a plateau, then frustration, and eventually many people regain the weight they lost. Not because they are weak, but because the biological systems regulating hunger and energy use are incredibly powerful. When dieting is too aggressive, these systems push back. Understanding this helps explain something important. Fat loss is not just about losing weight quickly. It's about creating conditions the body can sustain. Extreme diets may produce dramatic short-term results, but they often trigger stronger metabolic adaptation. And when the diet eventually stops, the body is primed to regain the lost weight. This leads us to another reason many diets fail. They focus on restriction instead of sustainability. People try to remove entire food groups. They follow rigid rules. They create eating patterns that are impossible to maintain long-term. For a few weeks, motivation may be strong enough, but eventually, life intervenes. Stress, social events, work, fatigue, and once the rigid structure breaks, people often swing in the opposite direction. This cycle of restriction and rebound eating is extremely common, but effective fat loss doesn't require perfection. It requires consistency, small habits maintained over long periods of time. Now that we understand energy balance, hormones, and metabolic adaptation, we can finally talk about the practical side of fat loss. The rules that actually work. The first rule is surprisingly simple. Create a moderate calorie deficit, not extreme. Just enough that your body needs to use some stored energy. This deficit can come from eating slightly less, moving slightly more, or both. The second rule is prioritizing protein. Protein helps you feel full and supports muscle retention during weight loss. Muscle tissue is metabolically active, so keeping muscle helps maintain metabolism. The third rule is improving food quality. Whole foods tend to be more filling per calorie. Vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, and minimally processed foods help regulate appetite far better than ultra-processed foods. This doesn't mean you must eliminate treats completely, but building most meals around whole foods makes fat loss easier. The fourth rule is movement. Exercise is not strictly required for fat loss, but it is extremely helpful. Strength training helps preserve muscle. Daily movement like walking also increases total energy expenditure. The fifth rule is patience. Fat loss is often slower than people expect, but gradual progress is far more likely to last. The final rule may be the most important. Stop searching for the perfect diet. There is no universal diet that works for everyone. Keto works for some people. Low-fat diets work for others. Intermittent fasting works for many. But these approaches succeed for the same underlying reason. They help people reduce overall energy intake while maintaining consistency. The specific strategy matters less than the ability to sustain it. In the end, fat loss is not a mystery. It's a biological system shaped by energy balance, hormones, metabolism, and behavior. When these systems are understood, the process becomes far less confusing. The goal is not perfection. It's alignment. Aligning your habits with the way your body actually works. And when that happens, fat loss stops feeling like a constant battle. It becomes something much simpler. A steady shift in how your body uses energy. One small habit at a time.